all of these drunks and everybody, probably hiring 10 hippies, are doing Cheerios and just donuts in the Moscow Kroger, and then they come back down and drop all these drunks off. I spent 26 years as a club disc jockey, and all I played was 70s and 80s music for 26 years. I've played Dancing Queen more than ABBA ever sang Dancing Queen. I played Jesse's Girl more than Rick Springfield ever sang it. I mean, I played 70s and 80s music for a living for 26 years. So everybody, graduates and goes on the club and plays modern stuff. I never graduated with the club. I still play on the 80s cruise every year. I played disco music. So that led me to be employed at a club called the Have a Nice Day Cafe. And in Indianapolis, we had one right at 225 South Meridian, right in the bar district, and it was a disco club with a light-up dance floor, and all we ever played was 70s and 80s music at the Have a Nice Day Cafe. And of course, I fit right in. I've opened for Casey and the Sunshine Band. I mean, I bleed disco music, and people are like, man, Travis, like, burn it with fire. Like, no, I mean, it was my jam. So, needless to say, the Have a Nice Day Cafe was a chain. It had 3 or 4 or 8 of these things. It wasn't just, Ed and Travis opens up a bar and we figure out that we, could make money playing disco music. When we opened the one up in Indianapolis, it was about 60 blocks away from another bar district called Broad Ripple, Indiana. You always wanted to try and drag a lot of the patrons from Broad Ripple down to downtown Indy so that obviously you can maximize your evenings and sell a lot of beer. But the Cincinnati Have a Nice Day Cafe and some of the other ones had a Partridge family looking school bus, a 70s multicolored, plaid, crazy, technicolored school bus. And Indianapolis did not have one. And we knew that we could use it for promotion if we could just drag these people from the Broad Ripple district back to Indianapolis, catch a ride on the free bus, the Partridge family school bus. So we did everything we could do to get one here in Indy, and to no avail, and our owners at the time, or our franchisee, may not have been fully on board with it. So we borrowed the bus from the Cincinnati Have a Nice Day Cafe. I was the only one that knew how to drive a bus or a vehicle with air brakes at the time. And I did not have a CDL, but of course I'm up for whatever. And so we all, myself and like a barback, went to Cincinnati and grabbed the keys for this very old 70s bus, and we drove it back to Indy. And so for months, we would park it out of the front of the bar because it was just a magnet, and people would get their picture taken. This is mega free, like phones that had cameras kind of thing. This is flip phone, but not quite like the Motorola Zach Morris brick phone and not the StarTech. This is one you can play Snake on or something. Like we're at least to that point. So it was very, very popular, and it was a home run for promotion. But of course, if I'm DJing, I cannot drive this thing. And I didn't have the correct license to do it regardless. At that time, I was renting a split double in Franklin, Indiana, and the gentleman in the front of my double had a CDL. And everybody has that one friend, like, where his first name is Crazy and his last name is insert his name here. So if my friend Ed's name is Crazy Ed, you obviously know Crazy Ed may not be playing full deck. There's Crazy Chris, Crazy Ed, Crazy... Everybody has Crazy Paul, Crazy somebody. Even their aunt or uncle or somebody's be like, here's Crazy Janet, like Crazy... He was Crazy Dave. Old Crazy Dave rented the front of my double at that point. So I banged on Crazy Dave's door, and I said, hey, you still have your CDL? And he said, sure. And I said, I need a driver for the Have a Nice Day Cafe bus, of all things. All you have to do is drive from 225 South Meridian to College Avenue and 62nd College, pick up a bunch of drunks, come down here, drop them off, and we're going to pack this place. We had these just grand ideas that this is going to be a home run. But, like Uber wasn't a thing quite yet. And then to convince people to get on a sketchy bus and then drive 60 blocks back downtown with a guy that's wearing a leather jacket and his first name is Crazy may not have been the best marketing plan. But for some reason, this thing was a home run. They would open up the door and people would spill out of this thing and go into our club after being in this other bar district and just party their butts off. And then they would get back in this thing and he would deliver them back there. And we never really understood what his marketing is like. Who would get on this thing? Like, I wouldn't get on the thing. We had like this designated spot, which is a Kroger grocery store, that we would pick all these people up in Broad Ripple. And we called it the Moscow Kroger because it was one of the grocery stores that was never remodeled. They always had like the wood paneling and it looked like it was in the Soviet Union. So we just called it the Moscow Kroger. So we would drop people off at the Moscow Kroger, pick people up at the Moscow Kroger. It was a whole thing. But he was popular and it worked. He always apparently had this rule because there was a backup disc jockey. So I figured I'd just ride with him one day. Like, how was he suckering these people to get on the Have a Nice Day Cafe bus? What happens on the bus kind of stays on the bus. And if you're smoking pot, you got to share it with the driver kind of thing. And like, it was just this party on the bus. And it was like Cheech and Chong was your Uber driver. Like that was the party bus. We get this call. I'm DJing one night at the club, and it is the Moscow Kroger calling the Have a Nice Day Cafe. And I can still remember their phone number to this day. I don't even know why. I can't remember my wife's phone number half the time. They're like, hey, your bus is doing donuts in our parking lot. And I'm like thinking donuts, and it had snowed. It was early November, December, and all of these drunks and everybody, probably higher than 10 hippies, are doing Cheerios and just donuts in the Moscow Kroger, and then they come back down and drop all these drunks off. So this thing is a home run. I look like a superhero and everything. But then when Dave gets back there, of course, the manager is just chewing his tail. He's like, hey, we can't have the bus doing donuts at the Moscow Kroger, and we got people on the bus and all this stuff. I mean, obviously, this is unsafe. I get off work, and I'm normally the one that would take Dave to the club and Dave home from the club. And I walk out there, and Dave's not there. And I'm like, all right, well, maybe he caught a ride home because he just got chewed out by the manager, and there's hell to pay at this point. And I pull up in the double, and there's the bus. Dave drove the bus home. Old crazy Dave parked out right at Wayne Street in Franklin, Indiana, and I don't know how the bus is going to get back. I don't know how the bus got there. I knew that Dave didn't have permission to drive the bus home. Dave eventually gets evicted from the home. He didn't pay his rent. And he's one of those guys that would like punch a hole in the wall and like go to the fish market and like drop a bass in the wall. And then like you'd walk in there and be like, damn, this place stinks, and no one can figure out why. He's that guy. But then we had the bus sitting there. Our managers didn't want the bus back, and someone has to get the bus back to Cincinnati. I'm very sure there's photos of me driving it somewhere with like my whole family and in-laws in it, going to look like Christmas lights and stuff like that with the wife at the time. The bus was free reign. Who knows if it was insured or anything. Kind of like the story about the school parade float, like whatever, it happens. So we have to return this bus back to Cincinnati. And the same barback that went with me to go pick it up has happily volunteered to follow me all the way back to Cincinnati and return the bus back to them. Cincinnati Have a Nice Day Cafe has no idea this thing is going to return. We have got as much play out of as possible. Nobody got killed in the Moscow Kroger parking lot. All is well. So you take 74 from Indianapolis back down to Cincinnati, and I'm chugging along in this thing, and it is just, an old, ugly school bus dressed up like the Partridge Family. And somewhere between Shelbyville and Greensburg, it starts playing to beat the band. Like there is definitely trouble in paradise in the bus. The engine is not happy. And so I pull this thing off, and the barback pulls off, and I call back to our Have a Nice Day Cafe, and I'm like, hey, I said, if the bus blows up, like what in the heck am I supposed to do with this thing? And they're like, well, we'll send somebody out and get it towed. Where's it at? Gave them whatever. This is mile marker. Here's where it's at. And I jump back in the other guy's car, and we head back home. And so weeks go by, months go by, and we get one of those state of Indiana DOT things that your vehicle has been towed in. And I'm like, it's not my vehicle, whatever. So the Have a Nice Day Cafe bus from Cincy got towed in. No, our Have a Nice Day Cafe did not call. They were just happy to get rid of the dang thing. So somewhere out there, someone at an auction or in a junkyard, the Have a Nice Day Cafe Cincinnati bus, they are not looking for it. They went out of business. But someone has the bus that blew up on the side of 74. I'd love to know whatever happened to the thing. But if you know, or if you saw a Partridge Family school bus, Oh, it's time to reveal who finally found and owns what's left of the Have a Nice Day Cafe school bus.
5 years ago, the first sponsor we ever had here on the VINwiki channel was Caffeine and Octane. Now, they're our local Atlanta Cars and Coffee meetup that I've been going to for 15 or so years now, but it is now the largest monthly recurring automotive gathering on Earth. Now, you'll also recognize Caffeine and Octane from their television show, and the next season of that airs very soon on Motor Trend. In their quest for further automotive world domination, they just bought the legendary Lanier Motor Speedway, which is across the street from Road Atlanta. So throughout the next year, we're going to have a lot of amazing events there that you'll be invited to join. But the coolest project they've deployed lately is called HighOctane.tv, and it's a free streaming network that you can access from any smart TV, Roku, Fire Stick, smartphone, or a computer, and it'll give you access to a ton of programming, including all 5 seasons of their show, some content from creators we love like David Patterson, That Dude in Blue, and a ton more. Soon there will be some content from VINwiki on there as well. So visit the link in the description below to learn more about the amazing world of Caffeine and Octane.